What's up, everybody? We are live with the MMA Mainstream Podcast. I'm James, of course, joined by my co-host Kaelyn. Kaelyn, how you doing?
Good. Good weekend so far.
Yeah, some crazy fights that have gone
Some
on.
good fights last night, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't think that I was a little disappointed with the card, being that it was pay-per-view before having watched it, but they ended up being pretty good. So,
all right, we'll get into that a little bit later. But right now we have a guest, Van Palacio, joining us live. What's going on, Van?
Oh, just living the dream. Having a chaotic week coming up. Got fights coming on for Beatdown. We're doing that at this Friday at the Madonna Inn, which is kind of cool because nobody's done it at that iconic hotel. So
yeah,
it's a venue that a lot of people know. Never been in. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's got weird features. Each room is a different theme. Like the room is this big old fountain that you pee in. Like there's been many times I've been pissing and somebody's taking a picture in there. It's been a very awkward situation. It's a really cool place, and it's close to the beach. I mean, it's a good destination place. I mean, to the fact that we actually picked up a fighter from Arizona that's going to fight for us. So I'm super excited about it. The only thing that's been a downer before we get started is Kaelyn passed away. He was a big guy in this area for the fight scene for us. He came down, visited us for about 5 years, and then he was taken to her. There's a lot of guys from OKG that also CBC up in there with Joe Soto and Javi. We all trained together. We were a family, and just wanted to say that to his family, to condolences and everybody around it, that we're gonna miss him.
Yeah,
so,
outside
of that, I just had to get that covered.
Yeah.
It hurt. I mean, it was bad. So
yeah, it looked like
it was a
he
bad
was very
circumstance,
close.
and people will pay for it. So that's the only bright spot.
Yeah, it seems like he was
Go ahead.
involved
Outside
in a
of
lot
that.
of.
Oh, he was huge in youth, man. There's so many kids that, I mean, my are really saddened, but they want to know when PB was coming back. Always around that, or he was helping spar up. Guys are 3 times his size and getting ready for fights. He was always there, and he was a people person, and that a lot of people could look up to, and also identify. He had a rough childhood growing up, and he made the best of what he had. So he was a great man. He was a very good man.
Yeah, definitely a sad situation with that. I just heard about it earlier this week, and yeah, it's rough when somebody local and somebody that's so encouraging passes. It's just terrible.
Yeah, the more time that goes by, you hear of more people being close to it. Like more and more people are like, "Wow, man, that he's pretty involved with a lot of different teams, a lot of different people, and looks like a lot of people in the fight community."
Yeah.
So,
but
You'll be sorely missed. But I mean, the best way to honor a guy that's in fighting is to do something with fighting. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and so
very true.
With him, he'd always say, next round, let's go, and that's the best way to do it. And so we fight in his memory. We do a lot of things for him, and it'll be recognized as the future months and shows come up. People will be talking about it. So
yeah,
he's a guy that will be missed and greatly remembered. So
now, Van, you're a matchmaker now. You've gone from fighting to matchmaking. How has that been?
Yeah. I when I wasn't fighting, I was like, why is this dude always calling me and bothering me, and offering me this, and I'm on the backside of it. And Coach Hood for 559 and Bailey, and I mean, these people, they go through hell and nobody really knows. It's a struggle, and it's very rewarding at the same time, because you get to contact a lot of the chance for them to be able to be show. And that's what when I was fighting, I got promises from 15, 20 years ago that never came through. Hey, I'll take care of you on the next one. With this, I have a chance to honor what's going on in the fight community. It's an amateur, and I'm asking a lot for to give up their body and go for it. But what we're doing is we're going to put them in the best situation on both sides. They're matched properly, that they have a chance to showcase what they can do, build the future, and have a highlight reel, hopefully in their favor, not, but starting and fighting when I did back in 04, I mean, I was part of WEC when it started, and it was, hey, you ready? And it wasn't like, hey, we got this match for you. What do you think about it? We got a couple other guys. Either you want to scrap or you don't. Like, either jump in or jump out.
Yeah.
And so with these guys today, I mean, it's rough for us because we have a lot to curtail for them because they do have options. It's very bright for them to have their future, and it's exciting to be a part of this. It's hard to have a downside to this or an upside because it's so evolving as it's going. I mean, there's more shows popping up everywhere we're going, but we decided to start the show at the coast. Central Coast they've got lineage. They got all kinds. There's Paragon, there's Pit North, Pit Regular, Pit CrossFit. Wow. I mean, you got all these big up from Santa Barbara up to Half Moon Bay just have to travel an hour and a half, 2 hours to go fight. And so why not put it right in the middle and have it at a place that's pretty kick-ass? I mean, it's got an old lineage, and I mean, I'm a fat guy. I'm going to enjoy the food too. They got a great bakery,
Nothing wrong with that.
They have a chance to bring you in, be a part of this, right? And I mean, we're sponsored by Liquid Gravity for our beer. Like it's a good, fantastic show. It's our first one, and I'm just excited to get it out there so the word can get out there and be bigger for our next one in June.
And so you guys are having amateur MMA. It's not pro, it's amateur. And then you're also having BJJ bouts. Is amateur. That correct?
Yep. Then we have we're planning on 2 or 3 BJJ. Just with training, people like, yeah, I'll go, and then all of a sudden they get hurt. And so we have 6 fights, working on the 7th right now for MMA. God willing, everybody stays healthy, everybody gets their paperwork done, blood work right, then we're good. But I mean, we're gonna have 9-10 fights, and I mean that's a full show, and it's very exciting to be able to do this, for my first time, and it's scary because I've been part of the fight community for 20 years, and I'm not a big name, I'm not a Doug Marshall or LeVar, but I've trained with all these guys, I talk to all these guys, and I do have a name behind it, and now people do expect a certain amount out of me, I'm always the guy that showed up, and I was always willing to fight, and now I'm like, hey, I'm going to pick people that represent what I'm matching, and that's a little scary because I can't predict how one guy's going to fight or how it's going to go or if somebody gets hurt, but I'm back in the show, and I'm excited to be a part of it and let it go,
How much of that is... Because obviously it seems like matchmaking has come around, just like you said, from back in the day where it's like you either want to fight or you don't. You get who you get or not at all, type of thing. Right. And now I feel like at least with amateurs, it seems like people do care more about matchmaking, giving them a fair shot, not giving them, a guy that's been around already forever and then giving some guy that's his like debut, How difficult is that because you can't be responsible for all of it, obviously. Because fighting's fighting, right. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But as far as giving them the best chance, how hard is that? I've always been curious because it seems like it's getting better. And like you said, you're a busy guy. I'm just wondering how much time does that take?
The time frame that I've been banging my head against the wall since November. I came out of coaching my kids football, and we went playoffs, and then after that, me and Ray are like, hey, let's get together. And I've been calling. This is my stack of matches that failed and been put together and failed and been put together, and that's just this month. The problem with it is they do have a lot of options, and no one show brings anything bigger than anybody else. There's some shows that have been here longer that have a bigger following, but the problem is getting it together where you can get 2 teams to agree on it, 2 coaches to agree on it, then the fighters to agree on it, and
then actually make it to the fight.
What I've seen, and then actually get there, and we what I've seen for the most part is 90% of the people I've talked to are just game ready and ready to go. there's a small percentage that, you know, they want a variety of fighters, they want to pick and choose, but they want to be able to match for their person. So I get that you want to protect your fighter, but I'm also from the same school of thought that you have to test somebody in fire to find out what they're made of. And if you get them babied all the way through, I've seen it in a couple fights, and where I'm watching Serge Quinones, who's 14-25, and they're like, oh, we're going to match him against that. And then Castle Williams fought him, and it didn't go the way that they thought, you know? And it just, I see fights like through my life that I was supposed to be a setup for Fred Diaz for my very first fight, you know, and I came through and I was cardio better than him and I had a better jaw, and nobody saw that coming, you know? So you start wanting to stack your fighter in an area where he's good. I think that at Amis, you're not getting paid. It's not something where it's going to change your pro career if you don't have the wins, you know? So you need to take your losses now and have the lessons early, you know, find that out early. Where's my guy's weakness? I'd rather see my guy go 1-4 and then turn pro and then go 9-0, because we found out where he sucked here. We found out where he sucked here, you know, because I don't care what gym it is. You're not perfect. You're not training everything. You're specializing in one area. And I don't care where it is. Either you're more of a ground gym or you're more of a striking gym, and you're not going to get the balance. And a lot of schools, unless you're cross training across different schools, you're not going to find out what the chinks in the armor are at. So for the most part, like I'm saying, these guys are coming out ready to fight, ready to bang. But a lot of times that 10% just want to pick through your fights and be like, no, we can't do that. Man, I'd rather this guy had a little bit better record, but was a little less on the ground. You're like, I don't have a factory where, you know, fighters are coming out. So, I mean,
I didn't know it was that technical, to be honest. I didn't know. I mean, obviously you want to get someone that has the experience level, maybe the same amount of time as training, but as far as picking, I want a striker. No, I want a ground. I didn't know that they did that.
Well, I mean, and it's like that across for fighting. For Muay Thai, I mean, this guy's more of a kicker, this guy's a boxer. Well, I want to fight a boxer type, you know. And coaches know that. And more respect to the coaches that are picking those fights. But I've seen some coaches that have been in the game for a long time that know that they have to match their fighter outright, but they also have to push him into a fight that they're not comfortable with. Not because they're not able to win. They're just not comfortable with the fact that maybe he has a little bit better record, or he's got 2 more fights than me. Then what does that mean? Well, if you got 2,000 hours in the gym, you're fine. You know, I'm guaranteeing you're training with pros. So go do your job. And so it's at the point right now where I've got a better understanding of it, and I'll have more lessons as I go down the line, we continue our shows. But right now it's fun, it's rewarding as hell, and it's frustrating at the same time, because I'm like, why won't you take the fight? Like on paper, this looks perfect.
These fights happen.
Yeah, I'm used to hearing people just say, put me in there. I don't care who I fight. A lot of times the fighters will say that. Normally when they start out. Yeah. And I always thought that's, you know, in my opinion, if you're choosing to do a sport like this, maybe become pro if you want this to be your career. It's like I don't think it's a wise idea to say no, you know, to someone that might be difficult, because, you know, you get that out of the way, especially an amateur. Get it out of the way, see what happens. You know, maybe it's not for you, and you'll be lucky enough to find out before you get into the pros where you've been babied, and all of a sudden you come across this guy and it just ruins your career, and you're wondering what happened. It's like, well, you know, maybe the foundation wasn't laid out correctly. So I don't know. I don't like that people are that picky. I didn't know that people were that picky. I guess in MMA they are, because it's mixed martial arts.
It's not everybody by any means.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's just,
man, I guess
not everybody's that picky.
Yeah, but that I did not think about that aspect of matchmaking, and I don't know much about it. I've always been fascinated with it. Did not realize how much of a pain that could be when you get refusals, but you're like, oh, well, I'll take this guy. It's like, well, no, you know. So that's interesting. I feel your pain. Then that would suck.
Hey, but it comes with the territory, and it's fine by all means, because you get to become a friend with somebody who tells you no, which is awesome at the same time, because at the same time, you know, I'm frustrated that you're not taking the fight, but at the same time, I'd like you to fight for me in the future. I want to know more why you're saying no, because maybe I'm not seeing something in the fight, and your fighter
Right.
and that, because I'm looking at YouTube videos, I'm looking at anything. I'm like, hey, you got any like sparring videos I can see of your guy, and
Yeah.
I'm getting to see what they're seeing on top of that, which is going to help me because I still go to Team Ochoa. I try to help if I can, and help with those guys out there and train. But at the same time, I like learning about the sport. So it's helping me see why they didn't take this fight. And I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense because this guy's got this hole in the game and maybe they are working on that, but they don't want to reveal that because maybe that's a sensitive spot. They don't want anybody keying on it. And I mean, there's always a devil's advocate to it. There's always a reason why they're not doing it.
Now, is there anybody on this card that you're really looking forward to seeing them fight?
Yeah. So Brandon Lascano, he's a 2-0 guy. He's a Central Coast guy, a little bitty guy, 125er. And there's a lot of big schools that turned on the fight. And he is going to be something good. In my opinion, he's got the future going on, and it's going to be where I'm a big guy and I got a heavyweights on the fight. That two guys that are coming out, one's coming from Arizona and one's coming from Ventura to fight on our card. And I'm not making them the main because I really do feel like this kid, Brandon Lascano, 125 pounds, he's going to be like, kind of like Ricky Bobby, he's going to be a spider monkey on Mountain Dew. He's all over the place. He's a balanced fighter, and he doesn't have like a big name behind him. And it's one of these guys that you want to watch because he's going to show up and he's going to be the guy that everybody's going to want to beat in the future. And if he's not fighting for sure he'll get a title shot from us in the next coming fights. But if he's not getting something like state sanctioned or going pro and doing something big in an A1 scene and then moving up, I would be highly shocked. This guy is a gamer. And like I said, there's a couple big schools that I was like, really, you're passing on this fight? And I'm watching videos and I'm seeing what they're seeing, but I've seen their guys too. And I'm like, your guy's legit. Like, I don't understand why you wouldn't want to try this and take that name. And so
Right.
I guarantee you the guys that are holding out will be facing him in the future. And he's just going to get better as time goes on.
That's really interesting. I didn't know that. And that's really cool that you would, and maybe this is what matchmakers do. Like I said, I'm not an expert on it. But so you do watch a video on each guy that you are matching up, and your goal, I guess, is to, of course, you want an exciting fight and also a fair fight. What in your opinion makes the best fights? Because you'll see these fights where a well-known mismatched fight, and you think, oh well, someone's gonna die in there, and it's gonna be interesting. For entertainment purposes, it's like what is the goal there? Because obviously that's entertaining as well. Sad for the other guy, but also you try to match these guys up that are on the same level. Maybe they're both strikers, and it's gonna be a good striking fight. How does that go for you? What is your goal when you match these guys up to make it the best exciting fight possible?
My goal is to match their strengths and their weaknesses kind of at the same level.
Okay.
But what you're really looking for is when a guy's fighting, a lot of people don't pay attention to this. When the round ends and they turn to walk to their corner, how their demeanor is between rounds. Because you don't know what the fight in the dog is until you see him when he's tired. When somebody's like shaking their head, locking eyes with the coach, and wanting to go, and then they're at a young level, they're a worker. And so they're in the fight itself, that translates to a lot of punches thrown, volume, accuracy is in when they're trying for you. But at the same time, they're willing to put on a show for themselves and their coach. And that takes a lot of sacrifice to do that. Because I'll just want to tell you, I've been guilty. I've been between 2 and 3, and I looked at my coach. I'm like, dude, I'm done. Like, I don't want to fight anymore. And it's, I'm getting paid for it, and I got paid a good wage. And they're like, you need to figure this shit out, And then you get these young that are not getting paid, and they're scrapping for their lives in front of their family, and they're designed to be the loser in this, and they are not losing today. And so you get to see that come out of people, because Brandon's matched against a guy who he should be successful against. But the guy he's matched against is a gamer all day. And I guarantee if he gets an opening, he's going to make it work. And that's what's exciting about this fight, because it's a 2-0 versus 0-3. 0-3 guy all day. But those 0-3 fights, I've seen those fights. And I watched him each time he went. It wasn't that he got destroyed. And it was decisions. And he is going through people, and he's going to get a win, and he may go pro at 0-5. I don't know. But he's going to be prepared as he stepped up. Every single time he steps up to a fight, he is prepared. And so it comes down to maybe the judges didn't see him that way. Maybe the judges were swayed by the school that the guy was going against. You get those things where like, oh, you should be a better fighter. He's from blah, blah, blah school. They don't get the change for that. But when you're matching fights, I mean, when you're matching up heavyweights, you're looking for them to beat the shit out of each other. You don't want to hug and fest. And you get these smaller guys, you want them to be able to grapple, transition quickly, but also be able to strike. And you get these 125ers, you're just like wind them up, let them go. So when you're matching these up, like I said, you want to go strength versus strength and the weakness versus weakness. Or if you can do the old school matchup, like you get a guy who's just good at ground and you match him up against a striker and see if they can figure it out.
Yeah. How do you feel about those?
I mean, a sprawl brawl days, I love them. I mean, I was the guy that never had ground that liked to take punches. And you got these kids that are now, they've got good mouthpieces. I mean, and they can take a punch, but they're afraid to get in there and bang sometimes. And the BJJ guys don't look like they get hit a lot, but when you get these two together and they're both ready to go, it doesn't happen. That's the fights I enjoy the most. But it can turn into a snooze fest, because once the BJJ guy gets a hold of you, he's looking for position. It could take a long time. So for amateur crowds, and I mean, drinking beer from the side, you want the striking matches. I mean, they do bring the bouts to excitement, but for the love of the sport, you do want the odd matches. You do want the underdog guy coming in. You want to give people a shot where they're good at something and they could be great in that moment. And so, because it doesn't have to take a guy who's a third stripe black belt to be fantastic at BJJ and not get submitted, because it happens all the time.
Yeah,
for me, like I said, I try to do strength and weakness.
I feel like you see a lot of those matchups in the pros, especially with people that are either making their debut or just brand new to pro. Say Bellator calls you up. I feel like a lot of times they know you're a striker. They are putting you with a grappler, and it just kind of just gets your career started off on the wrong foot. And I see so many guys that just don't make it because of the chance they got for their first 3 fights of being pro, because of those kind of matchups. And I guess it's your fault for not maybe taking that fight. But if you don't take it, it's like, well, then the promoter's not going to call you, because they don't think you're going to take it. So it's like, what do? You want to give yourself the best chance before you get to that point also, I would think. And
when the big shows call, I mean, you got Bellator or you got UFC calling or one championship back in Asia, they call it. It doesn't matter who they're putting you against. I mean, you have to figure it out and get there.
It's an opportunity,
because those phone calls are rare. I mean,
yes.
I mean, I was not trained. It was back in 2008. I got a phone call to fight a guy in Fresno when they had the fights in Fresno, and they had that gigantic 340-pound guy fight some little 290 guy. But anyways, they called me up and they had a young wrestler they wanted me to fight. And I was like, it was Ken Shamrock show. I said, no,
War God.
Actually, give me a day. Yeah. So, I know a lot about that. They wanted me to fight some young. They wanted me to fight some young wrestler, and he was training at AKA. And I called LeVar. LeVar was training up there, and I go, "Hey, who's Cain Velasquez?" He's a wrestler, dude. He goes, he ain't got much striking right now, but Vanna, you get a hold of him, you can win him. But if he grabs a hold of you, you're done.
That's a wrap.
And I go, hey, you train with me, LeVar? I said, the show's in a month. What do you think I should do? And LeVar told me, he goes, don't take this fight, dude. This guy's gonna be badass. I know that. I said, he goes, I've never seen him get tired. I said, okay. Well, I said, well, then I'll pass on the fight. I show up to the fight, and then 5 fights later, he's fighting in UFC for the championship belt. I mean, you get these calls, and I should have took that call. Maybe I would have spun it, and my career would have took off. But I wasn't there. I selling cars, and I was trying to feed my family. He was up in AKA just trying to kill people. And so, my shot, I think, could have come a couple different times, but I chose a family life over that. And I enjoy MMA. And I know it wasn't something that was going to be a full. Did I ever want to? Yeah, that's the whole reason I came back for my second part. But you start looking at these guys that are getting phone calls and they're in the right situation, like Muhammad Usman. I fought him late in my career. And now
I was looking up your record and I saw that.
Wow.
I remember him competing
and we talk on the phone. He's a good dude. I mean, it's not like we've become unfriended, but going into that, the reason he won is because the last part of the fight, I wasn't answering punches, but they were just tapping me in the face. And after the fight, I stood up and I told him, second round, I would have fucked you up. But I was my shot, but I also was a stepping stone for somebody who can create a career out of this because he's got nothing else. He's got his wife who helps him out, and he's got a chance to make this big. Plus, being, having a brother that's probably one of the greatest fighters of all time does help.
Right.
So, I mean, I've been around people who've been really good. I've seen a lot of greatness. I mean, one of my best friends is Javi, and he decided before COVID that, he was going to make a run at it. COVID hit. And he's like, hey, I'm going to make a career out of being a dad, and so he's stepping back. And then you got LeVar that me and him, we fought in the ton back in 2000. Like, I've done this for so long. These names, friends to me, but hold weight in the heavyweight division, I went toe to toe with. I mean, I yelled at Mark Coleman because they said I did an illegal shot to Wes Sims back in 2011. These things where I've had shots to go big, I didn't capitalize on them. And you get these guys that get phone calls because, I mean, fighting at the Palace, I mean, life is normal now. We got fights at the Palace again. That was missing in my life. But fighting out there is a big deal. Like, a lot of people don't understand that. Like, Tachi Paulo's fight says, put a lot of people out. WEC. I mean, I was on the same card with Uriah Faber, with LeVar Johnson, with Brandon Vieira. These guys hold weight everywhere. But you
have fought one of the legendary fighters that I unfortunately made a lot of jokes about, and that was just mean to me, Rafael Del Real.
You know what? He is one of my good friends. And when my first fight back, he goes, hey, we're going to go. And I'm like, I love you to death, man. I love you to death. But I said, we're going to go. And I was the first person to ever have a TKO without the strike. I am the only guy in MMA to do that.
I was there for that too. And I was like,
you threw these massive fire kicks and I shin blocked. On my right shin to this day, the last blow that he did, I don't have feeling in the front of it.
Oh gosh.
I mean, he's a massive man, but he blew his own leg up, and he was training at OKG, and Crew and Pretty Boy like, dude, come train with us, man. How'd you do that? And I mean, they capitalized on what I was doing, and I had a couple good fights after that. I mean, I beat up on Cody's sons, and we became friends. I mean, it's a round robin of things. I mean, my last fight, I didn't train for it properly. I came in too heavy, and I got my ass kicked by Derek Williams, and we're good friends now. And it just, there's a lot of things where these OGs come around and you train with them, you get to be friends with them. It's good times, but you start looking at like Rafael Del Real now has changed careers and he's doing bodybuilding, But you look at Cody Sons,
he had a great physique like the entire time.
Oh yeah, I mean, he made me look horrible in the ring. It's fantastic, I was living dad bod life, and he was like living, physique life.
Physique life.
Like after this fight, I'm gonna go get some reps in.
Yeah, I think he did actually. He maxed out at 500 on a bench on back. But you get these guys that are, that put a fight career together that can still go, but they doesn't have teams now. And LeVar's got their team with Ralph up at Ralph's house up in Madera. You got these guys that have been there that know the game, that are like putting fights and teams together. That, I mean, I'm blessed to be able to call them and be like, hey, you got anybody for this date? You want to, talk about something? And like my shot, I'm figuring out in the long run was the chance to meet all these people and actually give people that will never get a shot unless you get them something close to home to fight it in our show. And so it's
I mean, how hard is that to get someone to travel, to come do one of these shows over here?
Well, we are blessed to be able to help take care of rooms from, and help
Oh,
them get there.
good. Oh, good.
We get to feed them. I mean, there's a lot of things that we get to do that we can give them. But
that's good.
It's a weird thing because travel and getting guys there, make sure the paperwork's right. This is such a long.
There's a lot of money
that
goes into the. There's a lot of money that goes into it on their end. They're going to the doctor, they're training, they got to travel, all for free. They're not getting paid to get in there, but just to be a part of it and to hopefully make a career out of it. It's kind of a big thing. Like I know I did amateur Muay Thai, and I have not gone out of town for that. I will stay in Fresno because they do have them in Fresno now. So I don't go out of, I wouldn't go out of town for that. I never did. And it's a little more popular now, but that's a big thing. Like I'm not getting paid, and I got to travel to possibly get my ass kicked and have to come back, so.
Yeah. And if you're 2 hours from home and you have to travel and you're already beat up, it just sucks.
You never know. You might have to be going to the hospital too.
Yeah. Right. So what we're trying to do is make it as comfortable and make it as welcoming as possible to get you here. But we're doing everything we can. But the money side, it's like what you have to invest in yourself as a fighter just to get there. We try to help and curtail any expenses when you get there, like to take care of you if we can. I mean, it's odd to say, but when I was fighting amateur kickboxing, I'd get phone calls to go all over the country. And, to show up and then tell them, hey, I'll pay for your meals. It seems like nothing as a grown adult, but at the time I'm like, fuck, I don't have to worry about food, and I'm fighting 3 fights this weekend, and it's a big deal. So
yeah, it is.
I know what my experience is, and I try to give that out. We're trying to do little gift bags for the fighters when they show up. I mean, we're appreciative that they're coming to our show. So, I mean, we want them to be able to have something other than a black eye. You know what I mean?
That's really nice. Like I've been around a lot of promotions, at least as a conscientious observer, and I've never heard of anyone doing gift bags. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a hard draw because there's nothing else show-wise that's on that coast. You got, Daniel Compton's up north. You got people in San Francisco, but pretty much from like below Santa Barbara to above Half Moon Bay, there's nothing. We're going to pretty much be the only show. Chumash tries to put a show on every once in a while, but it's just, I don't think it's a focus of the show or more focus on the casino. So
yeah, I can see that.
With that being said, we have a chance to be blessed by a ton of sponsors that we have gotten support from. 100, like there's guys that are not even close to the area that are sponsoring us to help this because they're into fighting and they want to see a showcase. So
I'm really shocked you guys don't have like a major beer sponsor.
Yeah,
it's Liquid Gravity. Liquid Gravity's they're actually sponsoring us, and which is fantastic because they've actually did fight night cans. So the beer that's being served has a special can that is our can for fight night.
Oh, wow.
And so, I mean, I don't have a can, but I will have cans when I come home. I can tell you that much.
That's
but
awesome.
They're going to be a partnership that we intend on moving forward with because, I mean, it's a brewery that we can have an after party at. I mean, if the Amber's old enough to drink, well, I'll buy the first round. I mean, I have no problem doing that. Like, it's just exciting to turn this fight because it's been a ton of work to pressure getting up to this point. And then to be able to get there and breathe after weigh-ins and then celebrate the fighters and make them the focal point and let them be because I don't want any credit. I don't want any accolades. I just want to get them out there. I want to be able to watch the show, enjoy myself, drink beer, and watch these guys go at it. I mean, it's just, I don't care if anybody ever finds out that my match this show, I can give 2 shits. I mean, I've had a great life. I've done a ton of stuff, played D1, football. I've been a pro fighter. My day is done. I'm going to be able to take my kids, have them watch a bunch of guys go beat up on each other and enjoy myself,
Yeah.
So the reward for me is going to last about an hour and a half. So
I bet that helps though, having come from fighting, obviously. And I don't know about any other matchmakers. I don't know if all those are former fighters as well. But I think that's a really good advantage to have, that you've been in there and you know what would be a good matchup, you know, more so than probably others.
You know, the coaching aspect and matchmaking and fighting, they kind of all work hand in hand. If you've never been in a ring or coach somebody, you know, and because coaching for me is kind of, if they're listening to you doing how they're doing, it's kind of like playing a video game, because you're like, hey, I need you to lead out with this, and you put that together and it works, then it works, and then you need to adjust as you go. And so that's a real fun part of the game. But for me, it's so scary to send one of my guys out to fight. I hate that.
Yeah.
Like when it's a buddy of mine or somebody I know that fights, like I lose my shit. Like it's just, I mean, because I feel like I should be in there fighting because, you know, I can do it. But then I've cornered a ton of times and I'm like, just do this. That's all I need you to do, you know?
Yeah.
And it's for them to translate it and to figure it out is a huge accomplishment. And it's awesome because they're doing it, but doing that from the sideline and be able to see it is also giving me a chance to watch a fight and see a guy, how he performs and what would be a good matchup for him and what I see down the road for him. Like, hey, you know, there's a couple guys that's on the card that I've seen what they can do. And I think in 2 to 3 fights, we can strap them up, you know, because this first fight, I didn't want to put any belts out. I didn't want to be like, hey, if you fight for me, I'll put a belt out there. I'm not doing it.
No, that makes sense, especially if it's your guys' first go.
And I don't want it to be like, oh, we got a title fight. Well, who cares? I mean, there's so many organizations out there that has a belt. I want the fighters to come out and it to be about fighting and about them, because these guys are grinding for 2, 4, 8 months trying to get up to a fight, and they should be showcased. They should be celebrated. They should be touted around as a badass, winning or losing, because they've gave up 9 minutes of their life to literally go in there and get your ass whooped. I mean, there's no way around it. So for people to go out there and they're like, oh, you know, what do you get out of this, man? I said, I get to look and watch these guys go at it. I get a real close seat. That's my pay on this. I mean, I get to watch people perform, and I'm into watching 2 sweaty dudes roll around half naked. I mean, you know, it's hilarious to say, but that's what it comes down to most of the time. But these guys we
enjoy it.
I mean, how many people got to jog and cut weight with Uriah Faber? I did that in 2005, you know, and now he's got his own fight league. I mean, people know him worldwide. And so here's a chance for me to maybe one of these guys make it big and he becomes one of the greats, but I watch it at a lower level and see where they started. And for me, I can be sitting around a fire with a bunch of buddies and be like, hey, you know, dude, Brandon Lascano, I remember when I matched him in his first bout for us. And, you know, then I watched him go on 10 years later, and then he's got 3 belts and, you know, doing this. And people don't get a lot of people don't get a chance to do that. There's only a very minor percentage of the world that goes to fights that actually fight and then go on to careers and doing that. And then on top of that, there's a very small percentage that are going to be able to matchmake and appreciate what's going on out there. I believe there might be some matchmakers out there that do it for just to get people together. I'm doing it because I love to see people throw hands.
Yeah.
Now, awesome. Being a matchmaker, what is the dumbest thing you have been told?
Oh, okay. It happened this weekend.
It already happened.
I knew it happened. That's why I asked.
Yeah. The guy told me that he's willing to fight. He just can't cover his medicals and this and this and this, you know. And I'm like, all right, man. I said, if you need help with blood work, we can do the rest of the medicals when you get to the fights. We just need blood work done. And I said, blood work's like $40. I said, I can shoot you the 40, and I said, I'll shoot you another 20 to get you gas money. Okay. Oh, wow. And he's like, all right, nice. Well, I'll fight for you. Just go ahead and send me $500 now. And I'm like,
500.
I can't do that, man. I said, I can't pay you to fight for me. I said, I can take care of you when you show up. I can feed you. I can get you some gas money if you need it. I mean, I can help you with medical, but I can't pay you. He's like, well, you're not paying me. This is what's going to take me to get down here. I said, but I know where you live. Like, I'm pretty close to me. I'll just pick you up on the way to when I go to the fights, and you can weigh in with me. And he's like, well, I said, I can drop the cash to you in hand. And he's like, well, no, I'm not going to do that. He goes, but you know what you're getting with me, right? You know you're getting a show. And I'm like, I've watched you fight, and I was just hoping you would say yes. I didn't have to look for someone else. Like, honestly, dude, like you. I mean, we have a guy you can fight, but I appreciate that. And he's like, well, when I get there, if you just hand me a good amount of cash in hand, and I'm like, you're not a pro. Like, you can't negotiate, man. Like, it's the dark side of this. I'm wondering if there's other guys that do pay people out like that. I don't know.
But not that I've heard of, but it doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
Maybe, but
and the top of it is he sent me a Venmo request, and I was like, holy crap, Nigerian scammer, what's going on, man?
Yeah,
like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. So when it gets to that point, it's almost like, did you really want to fight or no?
I mean, if the dude just needed cash and he's broke, I mean, it was a whole other conversation. But if you're trying to leverage me for money, I'm like, that is the dumbest thing ever, man. Like,
what am I doing here?
Like, it's ridiculous. And honestly, I'm like, I have no problem opening my wallet, and if you're at the fights and you need some food or whatever, I'll buy you dinner. I'd love to sit down and have dinner with anybody. I want to hear your story. I want to hear your side, but I'm not going to fret you cash. I mean, it just, we can't do it in amateur, but B, it just looks disgusting.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're hard up on cash, you need help with this, I'll help. I mean, I'll be a sponsor of yours. I'm not trying to, relate myself with this. My company will, Beach and Back LLC will give you some cash to help you with your fights. Like, we'll go. I'll sponsor you up. I'll pay for your medicals, but I'm not trying to be a part of that underbelly of pay me out and I'll do this. Like, bro, like, we're better than that.
We're not doing that.
Yeah.
It's sad. I mean, that's the word thing I've been told. I mean, I've had some weird stuff. Like, I had a guy tell me that he thinks his kid's going to get sick on that day. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like,
you think
predicting 2 weeks your kid's going to be sick? Like, what?
Okay.
Like,
maybe you should be looking for the psychic network thing if you can figure that out.
Oh, man.
I just, there's been some different excuses, and I get it. I mean, but the good and the bad of it is, people that need help, that are earnest and need help, I mean, I'll help them personally, no problem. Beatdown is not gonna touch a thing on us. We're not gonna give you money. We're not gonna do it. But if you need help, I mean, I'll pay for medicals. What do you need? Because I've been in that spot, and I mean, like Alonzo Morales from Fresno, he's with the promotion for Jose Ramirez. He was a big part of getting me paid for my medicals when I was coming back. There's been a ton of people that's been identified here at the coast. Chinchak, I was one of their first guys they ever sponsored back in 2004, that have all been a part of me getting to the point where I can have this conversation with you guys. I had a ton of experiences. I had ups and downs. I was literally at a WEC fight, and I walked up, and Dennis Laughlin from Chinchak, he's like, "You got gear?" I'm like, "Nope, I'm fighting tomorrow morning, dude. I'm fighting I'm doing IKF." He's like, "Well, here," and just started dumping clothes on me. Here you go, man. Wear this.
Awesome.
And
that's
so,
awesome.
I mean, my girlfriend at the time, my mom, everybody got to wear, sponsored clothing. Like, I didn't have to pay for it, and I was 19 years old, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Are you serious?" He's like, "Yeah, dude, just go.
That's awesome.
Just say our name." I mean, and then I got to fight and knock the dude out, and I got to say, my only sponsor is Chinchak, and I waved his shirt around. But it was a big deal for me for that. But these guys have all helped out, and it's my turn. I've got a great job that I do. It affords me to spend time with my kids and be able to match these fights. So I want back in some way. If it's not putting you on my card, then you need help with medicals. I mean, yeah, 100%. I bought mouthpieces for guys that have called me up, that I'm not even friends with, but that are fighters. And I'm like, "Hey, bro, I got you. I got to hook up your mouthpiece. Let's go. I'll take you right now." And
that's cool.
It's the small things like that have gotten me through a lot of stuff. I mean, friends of mine have just handed me $100 before I headed out for a fight, and they didn't know that was only the gas money I had. I was going to figure it out as I went, but it literally takes a tribe when you're trying to fight. If you're putting everything you got here, I mean, the Thais believe living like a fighter is living in poverty, because if you got nothing, you're going to fight for everything. So I see where these guys are at, and I know what that guy was asking me for. He was hurting, and maybe he had a big hill to climb that he was trying to get out of. but I'm not going to do it for a fight. You know, if you're a guy that needs help, I'll be there for you. But I mean, don't drag my company into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sounded like something else was going on there, but that's
it was a weird situation. Cool. But that was the strangest thing that has happened. It was odd.
That's the strangest thing, and it's already happened. That's crazy.
Now, I'd rather that be the strangest thing that ever happened. I mean,
because of where you guys are having the fights at, has it been easy to get fighters from the Central Coast to come on, and then looking elsewhere has been harder, or has it been the other way around?
It's been about a 50-50 tug on that. There's guys that are interested, but I mean, also guys, I mean, they're wanting to fight and have a volume of fights out there. So they're committing to a lot of different shows that are like, we got this fight, we want to match it up. And there's a couple teams that we're working with real close, and then they had a chance to fight sooner, and their guy was ready. So I'm never going to be upset by that. You know, I get it. It's our first show, and we don't pull a lot of weight yet. And after we have a couple shows, people will recognize that it's a good place to go, and then it's welcoming for the fighters. But I'm not going to be upset if you're like, hey, I got a chance to fight at this show, and it's the week before, you know, and you tell me a month out, you know, and I still have time to plan for this. I get it. And it is what it is. There's nothing we can do. And you got 3 guys on this card versus 1 guy in this card and 2 going this way. Cool. You want to have your guys fight in 1 card. Okay. That makes sense. But, for the most part, distance hasn't been an issue. People, if you want to fight, you're going to fight. And that's the way it comes down to. So if it's a convenience for you to be closer to home and you can fight, I mean, we're there for the Central Coast. There's a ton of schools out there. But for the most part, it doesn't matter where it's at. I mean, I really thought that we'd have a ton of schools out of the coast just from my reasoning and deduction of what was going to happen. But this card, I went through a ton of matches, and I've had them disappear, people get hurt, fall out, baby mama drama. It's been different to have people come this way. But it's been an adventure, and I really thought that Central Coast would. Central Coast is half the card. I mean, it is. There's a ton of them there. So by all means, we got a bunch of people, but I thought it was going to be all Central Coast, you know, schools versus school. But
yeah,
that's where we're at.
Especially because there's no promotion in the area that's, with the exception of something that's 2 to 3 hours away. So you would think it would just be adorned with that. But I can understand that some schools seem to have gotten out of training fighters. They just train people just to train people.
Yeah, and it's a good thing the fit side of it's there, but I've been to some like classes that are listed as Muay Thai, and it's a cardio kickboxing, you know, and I've dropped in on a ton of classes. I've driven around to see the fighters, you know, because I mean I'll go trade hands with the fighter. I have no problem. You need some sparring? I'm a big dude. I'll take some punches. But I'd like to see how you move. You know, I want to see if you're worthwhile. If you get pressed, what do you do? You know, and it helps me as a matchmaker to be able to and be allowed by different schools to just come in and jump in with their fighters. I mean, they look at a moving punching bag in me, which is fine, but I get a chance to, you know, take mental pictures of where they're going to be at, and I can actually be like, hey, all right, so this guy versus this guy, that's probably going to be a good fight. And if I can match 3 of those that are going to just like chef's kiss fights, that are fantastic. And on this card, I'm looking at 4 out of the 6 that I have right now are really good matchups that I'm excited about.
That's good. So that the place you got, that's pretty cool. I mean, even like being from here just to drive there, I'm like, that'd be a cool ass trip to go see fights over there, you know? So have they not ever, how hard is it to get into that place? Because that place is pretty popular, you know?
Well, when we booked this, I was thinking, you know, this is going to be Valentine's Day weekend. Valentine's Day is on Tuesday. And I was thinking this place is going to be booked out. And room-wise, they're done. Like, I'm expecting door tickets to sell pretty hard. But they were way more welcoming than I thought they were going to be. Because, I mean, it's MMA. I mean, it's got a big name, but it's also fights are going to be on your property.
Right. So that's a huge thing. That's something different. You know, that's a different liability.
I'm curious to see the layout.
Yeah.
Well, so behind there, they have an expo center that seats 3,500 people. And so
Okay.
we have a cage that'll fit center in the middle of their expo center. So from the expo center, you can walk over and go to the restaurant, and that's what I'm excited about, because we're gonna have our weigh-ins. We're gonna have our weigh-ins there, and then after, to go and take these guys down there and have them sit down and eat whatever they want, feed them, get them out there. But I mean, the Madonna Inn is known for their bakery and their pink and yellow cake, and I'm like, I've had it. I've been here 40 years, and I've never went and had their cake. I've eaten there, I've never, and so I'm like, that's all I'm doing. I'm a fat kid and cake. That's all we're doing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, that's cool. Like,
I'll send you some pictures.
Yeah, I've never been there either. And I mean, what a better thing to go see is fights, and to go to a place like that. You know, it's kind of like a double attraction there, you know, to get to see a place like that, and then get to fight there too.
My whole thing is I want to do is have the Madonna Inn as our anchoring place, and then maybe
that would be awesome.
Do something closer to the beach and do it outside. You know, with a view of the beach.
Are you thinking like a little bow dog type fights?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, have that out there, like doing some stuff back from 2010 stuff, you know, and have it more. I'd rather our fights be more of a destination, like you want to attend and be a part of, than just be like, oh, we got fights here. I want it to be like, hey, you know, we're gonna do it 3 times a year is our game plan, and I want it to be like the fighter be like, hey, you know what, they're fighting, and we're gonna fight on Friday, babe, and then me and you can do something that weekend at the coast, you know, and have it.
That's a good, you
know, like something where they can go and do something. I've been part of fights, and it's always been like the worst place I ever went was in LA.
Better than Stockton, huh?
Oh man, they have them all over, and you go to places and you're like, ooh, it's rough. Like the club,
like you gotta get out of here.
Yeah. You know, I've stayed at a hotel where I'm like, I'm not sure if I need to take a shot after I leave. You know, I mean, back in the day, I'd bring my own sleeping bag. I'd strip off the sheets and everything. I mean, I'd sanitize the room. We're trying to set it up where that's not an issue for the guys. And so they come down, they want to be there, they want to invite their family. It's a comfortable scene. They got a dog, you can bring a dog. You know what I mean? It's gonna be. I want it to be more of a vibe and a destination than it is just, hey, we're fighting, get the fuck out.
Right. So, that's awesome. And so that's it's really interesting.
How can people get a hold of you or get a hold of Beatdown to get tickets?
Yeah.
Well, it's on Eventbrite. So you can go online on Eventbrite, eventbrite.com, and look up Beatdown, and it's there. Tickets right now are $30 online, and at the door they're $35. So I mean, it's super affordable, and it's not a, you know, it's going to be able, and there's not a bad seat in the place. We're blessed to sell out our 12 VIP tables before we even announced it on Eventbrite. So the local area is picking up on it pretty quickly. We set it up on a Friday night. That way the college scene will be there. So there'll be a bunch of Cal Poly people there. It should be a really good, the area itself is super chill, but it's a great party scene. So with that combination, I'm praying that it's going to be something super exciting, something very palatable for everybody to be around, and not a lot of drama. And you know, God blessing the fighters, it'll be fantastic, because the fighters are going to be game ready and they're going to throw hands, and I'm just excited to be a part of it and be able to watch. So I'm looking forward to it. But Eventbrite.com, Beatdown fights. That's where they can buy tickets. If they want to contact me on any social media, Instagram, it's Butter. You can add me. Beatdown Fight Center. The training center is our Instagram. Ray Rodriguez. If you want to contact him directly, you can do that. He's the promoter. So there's multiple of us, and it's fantastic to be a part of this, and I hope to see a lot of you guys down there.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Look forward to it. Now, are there any other sponsors you want to shout out before we let you go?
Oh, well, there's a bunch. The Hoagie Shop in San Luis Obispo, they've been a part of us. Let me get the list. I got Acre Ag. He's a good buddy of mine that, you know, stepped up, and he does custom area, and he picked up land as rolls. And Elias Cabrera, he's just a good friend and a good customer of mine, and you want to be a part of the fight scene, and it's fantastic. You know, the fight scene itself is growing daily, and it's insane to see the amount of people that want to be a part of it and where they come from. Like people just come out of the woodwork, and it's insane. And then for let's see, and also Beat Down Promotions. That's me and Ray's company, and we're throwing the fights together. We got like I said, Hoagie's got Liquid Gravity. We got Triple C Fitness, and then Sweet Affair, and then CBD Coffee. It's coffee but different. It's a mushroom supplement. It's fantastic. Camo's a big part of what we're doing, and I'm thankful they sanctioned the event. And Stomp Footwear, they've all been helping us out. There's more people that the list is pretty big, and we're blessed to have them. And we hope that we put a show on that they want to keep supporting. And like I said, if you guys want to go out there, I got passes. You guys come, you show up. Doors open. Doors open at 5. You guys can come down. You're totally invited to be there.
I appreciate that.
Whatever you guys need, let
me know.
I can do that. Definitely. We will be in touch, Van. Trust me.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right, man. Thank you for joining us.
I want to thank you guys for time. I want to thank you for letting me be on this podcast. I mean, it's been years since I've been this, and to see this still going is fantastic. And thanks for being part of the fight community, because not a lot of people get a chance
you want to come on, you're more than welcome.
Come back. Let us know how everything goes. Let's promote your fights. Yep.
Oh, for sure. I'll be sure to make sure I have some swag to you guys. We have shirts and stuff being printed out. So if you guys don't make it to the fights, I will send you guys a gift bag and everything. Okay.
That's you're awesome. Sweetheart.
Send the fighters our way as well. We'd love to talk to them also.
Oh, for sure.
Ahead of their fights.
Any chance I'm trying to get a hold of them. Super Bowl Sunday. Not a lot of responses, but I was going to see if maybe
that's why I was like, we have a guest for today. Yes.
Yeah. But we'd love to talk to all your fighters.
My smoker's already going. I'm smoking a meatloaf. I wanted to try something different, so we'll see how this goes.
All right, Van. We will catch up with you next time. Go check out the show at Central Coast, man. That's where it's at. Eventbrite, Beatdown. Check it out. All right, Van. We will talk to you later, my man.
Thank you.
Oh, cut him off a little bit. Man, that's awesome. Like,
that's awesome. I'm excited for him.
You never think about I've never thought about shows ever being in San Luis. I just know fighters coming out of there. That's it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I never traveled too much for fights here and there. I think the furthest I've gone was Arizona they have the Muay Thai Open there. We had guys fighting. So I flew out there to go watch them. It was amazing. It's great. I love to do stuff like that. But man, if we can go to more fights over by the coast, that would be good too.
It'd be a great reason to go. There's a beach right there. Let's do it.
Yeah, and then stay the rest of the weekend there. That'd be pretty cool too. But yeah, no, I'm excited for him. I think he's doing it the right way. I think he has all the help in the world to get it off to the right start. Because some guys are just scrounging up whatever they can just to get something going, and then it sounds like he has a lot of the legwork and foundation already there that people would struggle with, like sponsors and stuff like that. And even a venue such as the place they're going to be at is pretty crazy. So that's good. I'm really interested to see how big that takes off, especially with the fighters from that area up north. A lot of schools up there. So
the Pit, one of the most famous schools in now older MMA history because of Chuck Liddell coming out of there. Yeah. I know quite a few guys that have trained there and come out of there, and I think it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited for him.
We had UFC last night.
We did. We did have UFC last night. And man, leading up to it, I was not excited for that fight card. And I'm like, this is
same. We talked about it last weekend. It was the main event, of course, is what we were talking about.
Was the card. The main event was the fight card, basically. Yeah. But also, Yair Rodriguez did very good too. I think he basically did what he used to always do. I don't know if you caught the fights or not.
I did not, unfortunately. I'm trying to be balling on a budget, and these fights are not helping my.
They're not. No, they're not. But for a pay-per-view, that card was what I enjoyed was the main and co-main event.
Now, what did you think of the main event? Because I heard mixed reactions. Some people felt that Islam won. Some people thought that Volkanovski won.
No, so Volkanovski did not win. Okay, this is my opinion when watching the fight. Volkanovski didn't win enough rounds in my eyes. I don't think he did. Okay. He did very good. He did very, very good. I can see why people would be upset. But I agree with the decision, though.
Makhachev had 4 takedowns. Wow.
He did, yeah. But Volkanovski was very, very good too. It's just obviously, to get a belt to beat the champ, you almost have to finish him, really. Yeah. But the fight was really good. I really do agree with the decision. Makhachev did really good. He stood his ground. He defended. He took him down. Volkanovski defended on the ground very, very well, which was cool. He did land quite a few shots too, but Makhachev had it though. So.
And then moving on, Yair Rodriguez versus Josh Emmett. Rodriguez would get the sub in the second at 4:19.
Yeah. Yeah, that fight was crazy. I enjoyed watching this one because Yair his body kicks are insane. I think what helped him a lot was the range that he had, because I don't know what the measurements are, but he's taller. His legs just got there faster.
He had better reach.
Yeah, he had way better reach. Josh Emmett is really tough. So it was a very, very good fight. But Yair Rodriguez did basically what he is known for. It was enjoyable to watch. So we'll see what happens there. So this was interim title bout for 145, right? That's for the weight. 145. I didn't understand why. Like, did we need to have an interim title for this fight? I mean, the champ is right there.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
Was it? Well, yeah, it didn't make sense to me because I get that you're having a fight to determine who the champ fights next, but you don't have to give him a belt. What the hell?
Dana White's very big on interim titles. Why? I don't know why. He did it with heavyweight too.
Immediately, he did it with
and Ngannou when they ended up, fighting, but Cyril Gane became interim champ, and it was like, how come? Who cares?
I don't like interim titles unless the champ is injured or out and is not going to be back for a while, and they haven't vacated it. I think that's appropriate. I don't know why they're just giving out belts for just. I mean, obviously, the next person that's going to fight for the title is the one that got the interim belt, but did you need the belt? Like, he's got the fight. He's not the champ. Why give him a belt? I don't understand. Unless something's going on that no one else knows about, but I doubt that.
Were there any other fights on the card that stood out to you?
Trying to remember. Justin Taffa.
Yeah. That's a guy that we talked about. He's up and down. Like he bangs. Yeah. So you never know if he's going to be able to get it the quick knockout or if it's going to go a little bit further and he's worse for wear. Yeah. But he got the win in that against Parker Porter.
Yes. I think I don't remember Justin Taffa's last fight. I believe he got knocked out, I think, and it was crazy. So it's like
it was a loss.
And it's just like you never know with these guys. So that was of course exciting. Heavy hands. But that's about it, really. I mean, for the whole fight card, it was all right. There's a draw. Okay, I don't think it was worth the pay-per-view, but I guess I almost feel like they made that interim belt just to have another pay-per-view, just so they could say it's worth 2 titles.
A 2-title fight. I can see that.
2 title fights, and this guy the actual champion, all he did is go up a weight class to see if he can get that belt too. Why do you have to have an interim? It's not like he left the division.
Because then you just have him fight against him for the belt.
I don't know.
Instead of like, I feel like that fight should have not been for an interim belt, but it should have been a number one contender.
Of course. Well, that's what it was. But why are you gonna throw
essentially a belt? But they put a belt on it.
Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me.
We do have a fight coming up on the 18th, Saturday. We have, bring that up, Jessica Andrade versus Erin Blanchfield. And I was looking through the card, and that's the fight I'm most excited about. Number 3 against number 10. Andrade just fought.
She did.
And she's like, I'll fight another person. Why not? Props to her.
Yeah, she fought Lauren Murphy, was that correct?
Yes, and she beat Murphy.
Of course. Yeah. So she's fine. She could fight. She didn't have any injuries that anyone knows of. Blanchfield is the one that has all the adversity here, even though she is as good as she is. I don't know. Everyone's putting their money behind Erin Blanchfield, which is cool. I know she's good, but I don't know about this matchup. This is a tough matchup. Don't you think you'd want to give her a few more before?
Yeah, well, she's number 10. I'd rather match her against 7 or 8,
right?
To get her way up, in the rankings. More. Not we're gonna shoot her out from a cannon against number 3, well, especially somebody who's been on such a tear.
She was supposed to fight Taylor Santos, right? Remember? Because Taylor Santos just fought Valentina, and a lot of people were back and forth on that, on whether Valentina actually won or not. Some could argue that Taylor Santos did win, and she was supposed to be matched up with Erin Blanchfield. We're like, what the hell's going on? Why would you do that? This girl almost beat Valentina, and you're going to feed her. So now they give her Jessica Andrade, which is like still equally as dangerous, So,
but it goes into also what we were talking about with Van, about people that are just willing to fight. She was willing to fight.
Yeah, but I mean, man, you're in UFC. Maybe be a little more careful. I don't know.
Well, you never know. It's a certain level of adversity, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. That'll be interesting. So I'm looking forward to that fight. That's for sure.
Same. To me, that was the most exciting fight on that card. I mean, I imagine there will be others, but out the gate, what I saw, that's the most exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us here at the MMA Mainstream Podcast. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you guys next time.